Hello and welcome to the Striding Edge podcast, I suppose. It's where we're at.
Whatever
Um,
we call this.
as we've said, we're looking to do sort of a range of videos just talking about individual faction lists in the game um, and just kind of give our take on some of the factions that are in. Because obviously there's a lot of lists, there's a lot of factions, there's a lot of different units. We were going to try and take a sort of straightforward, like a narrow approach to look specifically at single lists and start with some of the more simple ones which are in the game.
Yep, yep. So rather than going through every profile, like opening up Mordor or Rohan and looking at every single profile and reading out the stats to you and saying whether or not we think the unit's good or bad, we would look at or looking at every single army list because some are similar-ish and some are different enough that they're not really worth comparing. Um, we would take a hybrid approach, as Jules said. So we were going to talk about a faction. So today we're talking about Mordor, but we would use an army list as our vehicle to talk about that faction. So today we're also talking about the Army of Gothmog, because we have tried to pick the most standard, as it were, or one of the most standard lists that represents that faction, or just happens to be in that faction. Um, to bring it back to my favourite, Rohan, obviously if there was something like Riders of Theoden, there's a pretty standard list. That doesn't mean we wouldn't talk about any other Rohan faction or list, because there might be a list that is different enough that it's really worth talking about. But rather than talking through every single list where, Rise of Theoden, there's no point talking about what a warrior, a rider of Rohan does in the Riders of Theoden and the Riders of Aemir, because it's pretty much the same thing. If you've heard it once, you've heard it twice. So that's our rough plan. We'll see if it sticks. We'll see if we stick to it, or we'll see if it works. I think generally, Jules, you can correct me, but I think this is not a how to play this faction super competitively and win yourself a GBHL 100. We're not those sorts of players. This is what the theme of the army is, what you might want to do with them. If you're getting into the game, you could maybe find the episode relating to your faction and your army, see how they play, see if you like that idea, and then maybe some list building ideas. I think that's probably our level.
Yeah, I mean, and I think part of the reason we chose the Army of Gothmog is because in terms of kind of accessibility
Mm.
into Middle-earth strategy battle game, it's one of the more accessible lists. There is a new plastic Gothmog model. It's one of the newest plastic models,
Yeah,
give or take.
at the time of
And
recording.
it's if you take a look on eBay, it's quite easy to find Morannon Orcs sitting around who are basically the main element of the army. Um,
Absolutely. They've been in a lot of
and
two starter boxes, so there's probably a lot floating around that people don't want them.
yeah, and also I mean in the movie, in the Return of the King, I mean the Army of Gothmog is basically like they're the big bad, like they're the militant arm of Mordor that you see the
Yeah,
most of.
the main professional army, as it were. They're the one that marches off. They're not just a rabble of orcs raiding. They are Sauron's professional military.
Yeah, so they felt like a nice logical place to start with the evil side.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, I mean I suppose Boris actually has had a bit of recent experience with the army, so that was also a
Yeah.
good spot to start with on the new lists. Um,
Yep.
in some ways, they haven't changed that much from there was a legendary legion of the Army of Gothmog in the previous edition,
Yep.
but in ways that sort of might become clear when we're talking, they aren't maybe as good as they used to be.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah. The list has turned around a little bit. I think it's lost a couple of named heroes from Forge World characters. Um,
yeah, I can't remember if they were
and
in it or not, but
they were in Mordor, perhaps. But yeah, the list. Yeah, you're right. The list is effectively a rough copy of the old Legendary Legion, but with some changes, a little bit for good and a little bit for bad. Um, so I think that's an easy overview of the list.
yeah. So I mean, I suppose why don't we get straight into it? We have the
Mm.
magic of PowerPoint.
Hey, if you are watching along, we have our beautiful PowerPoint. If you're listening to along, you'll have to imagine, uh, you know, one of the best PowerPoints you've ever
Lots
seen.
of images of really attractive orcs.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. So yeah, Army of Gothmog. I guess yeah, like Jill said, they are the in the movies, they're the ones that I guess they're also partially invented for the movies, right? The idea of Morannon Orcs as a discrete unit in the books, they're just sort of mentioned as orcs of the Morannon.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and I think I remember something in the behind the scenes about they when they got to Return of the King, they wanted the armies to look a bit more organized because they're a bit more of a militant arm. So they gave them this red sort of um, uh, color to sort of tie them together. They all look a bit more heavily armored, so they look a bit more like a professional military. So
They actually
it's
have
very
like
much
some mass manufactured armor basically as well.
yeah,
Like,
yeah. They arrange in ranks and sort of march in file, rank and file, and that sort of thing. So they are mostly a movie manufactured thing, but they are the ones that storm off Gilead. We see sort of throughout the first half of Return of the King, and then most notably storm Minas Tirith in and fight on the Battle of the Pelennor Fields. And then they're not technically the Army of Gothmog by the Black Gate because spoilers, Gothmog dies. And then it's just sort of unnamed leaders leading the orcs at the Battle of the Black Gate, so it's not them. Um, yeah, I guess we'll go into the rough sort of their quite a focused list. So the Mordor as a faction, this is a kind of slight dichotomy to use a fancy word. Mordor is a really large list. So things with the keyword Mordor is a pretty huge list because I think, might be wrong, it starts with Sauron and goes all the way down to a regular orc. Barad-dûr and Mordor aren't a
yeah, so
separated out list.
there are two army lists. There is the Barad-dûr army list and the Legions of Mordor army list. But like
Yes.
everything is Mordor.
Yeah, it's the forces of in the armies of the Lord of the Rings, sorry. It is Mordor and the first entry is Sauron and then under the Mordor sort of um keyword, so and Sauron is faction Mordor now, but he doesn't appear in this army list obviously. It goes all the way down to a regular orc. So
Yeah, I
it's a
mean, I
pretty
suppose
wide faction.
because there is normal
Um,
orcs, there are Morannon orcs, there are Mordor Uruk Hai, so there's like three
yeah,
different types of orc in the Mordor
yeah.
list.
There's
Um,
quite a few heroes. There's
a
all the
lot of
ring wraiths.
heroes, all the ring
Um,
wraiths.
you got things like specters and all that sort of thing, and that's before you get some of the army lists that bring in things like Easterlings and that sort of thing. So it's a pretty huge list. So again, that's why we've narrowed it down. And actually, Army of Gothmog is almost the other end. It's actually a really narrow list. You have Gothmog, you have to take. You have a few. You have two named heroes, two other named heroes, Guritz and Gothmogs Enforcer, and then you have a Morannon Orc Captain. In the base list, we are getting a Shaman being added in Armies of Middle-earth, which is very exciting, and a Morannon Orc Captain. So that is 5 heroes, originally 4.
It's five heroes and four choices of other things. I mean, the siege
Yep.
weapons basically are kind of like a hero level choice in the sense that they're their own warband.
Yes, yeah, but I mean, even more narrow. So you have 5 heroes, but actually even more narrow in terms of warriors. You have Morannon Orcs, add a troll, and then the
Yeah,
catapult, and then now with the armies of Middle Earth also a siege bow. But actually, in terms of your on foot warriors, you have Morannon Orcs. That is it. So it's actually a really narrow list, which is interesting in a way. It's restrictive in other ways, but basically your the crux of this entire army is Gothmog and a bunch of Morannon Orcs, and then you can kind of tweak it however you want after that. I suppose we'd better to go through Gothmog first or the army bonuses because they kind of interact with one another.
well, I think maybe
Just
we could talk about sort of the top line kind of pros to the army and maybe some of the cons to the
mm,
army.
that's a good
Um,
point.
I mean, I think
Right.
I would just say from my point of view, looking at the army pro wise, like they're pretty heavy armored. Like everyone's got heavy armor.
Yeah, that's a good point. They can, in the game I recently played, if you give everyone a shield, and you can choose to give all the orcs a shield, you are defense 6 at the lowest.
Yeah.
Which is quite good. I'd say that's approaching, 7 is very good. So 6 is solid, especially for an orc.
Yeah, and they're high strength as well, so they do have strength 4, unlike baseline orcs. Which is good. Yep. And in the right circumstances, they basically get a lot of bonuses to help them kill just men, specifically men.
Yeah.
So like Gothmog gives out hatred within a range, and they get +1 fight if they are fighting. Morannons get +1 fight if they are fighting men. Does the Morannon Captain and Guritz. So in that circumstance, they can be really quite killy, because even against Gondorians in a shield wall, they are still winning on 5s.
Yeah, for sure. They I mean, defense 6, fight 4, strength 4, really not bad stat line for your basic. Well, the only warriors you can take, but your basic warriors. Really, really decent. I guess it's a bonus. They've got nice simple rules. There's not much to them. If you're a beginner, it's useful. I've certainly found it useful compared to some of the others where there's a lot of synergies or intricacies or heroes do strange things to your warriors. Quite easy. Which is helpful, and you can take a lot of them.
The army list bonus really just makes. I mean, there is an extra one, but it just makes your leader better.
Yeah.
So it's
and the
easy
leader
to
makes
remember.
Your troops better. That's it. The leader just makes the troops better. The army makes your leader better, and the leader makes your troops better. Nice and simple. I guess that's most of the pros.
That's probably the pros.
Onto the cons, is it next?
Yeah.
What follows.
So I did choose this image because it's the death of Gothmog.
Yeah, makes sense. The cons, sadly, I believe, I might be wrong, I believe they've gone up a point between editions. We'll try not to just hark back between editions, but I believe they've gone up a point.
They're expensive.
As we were saying, they're expensive. They're fight 4, strength 4, which is great. Defense 6, pretty great. But I'm pretty sure they are the same points as an armored Uruk Hai.
No, because they're not fight 4 unless they're fighting men.
Sorry, excuse me.
So they're fight 3.
The last time I played them, I fought Gondor. So in my head, they're fight 4.
So but they are the same points as a Uruk Hai scout or a Mordor Uruk Hai. And for that, they basically have heavy armor.
Yeah. And they don't have an innate fight 4. They just have the possibility to get a fight 4. They have pretty sure 1 worse courage. I'm pretty sure they're courage 8+, whereas Uruks are 7+. And the Uruks are just plug in some more interesting lists. So sadly, they're costly, and even the army buffs, maybe they don't cover them too well. Options, not great. They can take a shield, a spear. Or a shield and spear, so it's pretty obvious what you take, or a banner, so that's cool. They are one of the armies that can take a banner. The model's quite nice. It's an old fine cast one, sadly, but it's quite nice. It falls over all the time though, so weigh the base down with something heavy.
Yeah, and he's hench as well. He's a real big dude.
Yeah, he's a real big dude. But the models are the command set is quite a nice set of models. I really like the captain with a big 2-handed axe, so that's cool. And no bows. No shooting whatsoever. The only shooting in this entire army is your troll, if you take a troll, can throw stones, or your catapult or siege bow. That's it.
Yeah, and I suppose in the same vein, the only cavalry is Gothmog on a warg.
Yeah, and we'll get onto him, but he maybe isn't the person you want to be throwing into combat as much as last edition.
No, I mean, I think, with that sort of said, I mean, well, let's go on to the man himself. The myth, the legend.
Gothmog. So, if you don't know who he is for some reason, he is the little, I guess he's almost like a pale orc who leads the army against Minas Tirith and says, what's the quote? Fear the army reeks of it or something.
The city reeks of it.
Yeah. He's just kind of on a warg. He's got a little limp.
Supposedly modelled after modelled after Harvey Weinstein in the movie.
Yeah, I heard that.
Um,
He was such an awful person to work with, apparently. They modelled his face after him. Could be erroneous, but uh, who knows? We'll canter through Gothmog. So he is 120 points, which is quite expensive for an Orc hero.
yep.
He can take a Warg for 20 points and a Shield for 5 points, so that makes him defense 7. The Shield's probably definitely worth it. The Warg, the Cavalry are now 20 points flat for characters. There's an argument that maybe you don't take it. He is 10 points less than last edition, but the Warg's 10 points more, so he stayed the same. But that's actually quite good compared to a lot of characters that have gone up 10 points due to the mount. Fight 5, Strength 4, Defense 6 or 7 with the shield. 2 attacks, 3 wounds, Courage 5 plus, which is pretty good. 3 Might, 3 Will, 1 Fate. So, because he dies, spoilers, he did lose an attack between editions. So I think it's probably worth bringing up now. He has been hit pretty hard with the nerf bat. Last edition in this list, or Legendary Legion, he was quite a beast. I think he was fight either 5 or 6.
I think he was still fight 5, but he had heroic strike, which he has lost access to.
He could,
and fight 5 in the last edition was not so punishing as it is now, when there's a lot more fight 6 around.
And you could go up D6 fight value, whereas now you can only go up D3. He's lost an attack, so he's 2 attacks base, whereas he was 3 attacks base. And he has Master of Battle on a 2+, which is actually one of the best in the game. Whereas before, he had it just blanket. He didn't have to roll, you just claimed it. So I think this is to represent he's meant to be a great strategist for orcs. So he's kept it, but it's now gone to a 2+. So 1 in 6 times you will fail it. So that, I think that's still really good. But before, he was a really obvious one to put on a Warg and throw against enemy heroes, and then when they tried to strike, you would counter strike, or when they tried to combat, you might counter combat, or things like that, or do whatever, or you could strike on with your own might. I don't think he is now. Now he's basically, you might. I mean, he's fight 5, strength 4. On a Warg, he'd get 3 attacks, 6 against infantry if he knocks them down. I think if at most you're going to throw him into very low level captains or warriors and just use them to kind of clear the way a bit. So he has lost a bit of a. He's been hit pretty hard with the nerf bat. I would guess the reason for this is that in the movies, he's not. I think he's mentioned in the books once by name, but never really described. And in the movies, he's literally this little guy with a limp who has to be like helped on and off his Warg and runs away and then gets chopped up. So he's not a great hero. He's not Azog, basically, like the Great Pale Orc, who's the mighty duelist who can take on the greatest heroes of the age. He's a great strategist who can motivate his armies, but he's not even like a mid-tier good hero will have him, basically.
He's definitely quite like sort of infirm, but what he does do is he's kind of the linchpin of the whole Army of Gothmog, in the sense that he gives you some big bonuses.
Yeah, for sure.
But they're really only there. I mean, there's basically not much point in talking about the rules for the list without actually just talking about his army rules, because the rules for the list improve his army rules.
Yeah, so again, he's just a big linchpin. I'll quickly just go back and say he has heroic defense and march. March is really useful actually because you want to be getting this army up to where you want, and defense is cool, I guess. So yeah, he has 2 really key rules. The first is the age of men is over. Friendly Mordor Orcs within 3 inches gain hatred man. That's great, but situational. So 3 inches is it's fine as a bubble. Hatred Man, it follows this sort of new, I don't know what, narrative bent on special rules for this edition, where armies seem to be gaining specific bonuses against their sort of historical enemies, which is cool, but I don't think it would have been a super hindrance if that had just been hatred.
I mean, it was the case before that it was hatred man.
Yeah, no, that's true. But it's fine. So he gives out a hatred man bubble, and then the more significant one is the time of the orc has come, which I think they're both quotes from the movie, which is great. Which is once per game at the start of the fight phase, so you don't have to call it. You can't get it interrupted, or no, actually, it might be an active ability. Either way, friendly orc models within 12, which is a really good bubble, can re-roll failed to wound rolls when making strikes. So this is great. This is basically the equivalent of the Reclamation of Osgiliath. Boromir has a rule where he can do a once per game. Everyone gets a decent bonus to wound. I can't remember if it's reroll wounds or if it's reroll ones or something like that.
I think they get
one.
I think they get +1 with
Plus one.
Boromir in
It might be that.
Osgiliath.
That sounds about right. So this one's your big one. I think this is basically where you go. We have a lot of orcs in combat. We have a decent, set of fights that we might be able to win, and we're going to call it once per game. And we're gonna have a really good turn where we just smash the opponent and give ourselves a really good head start. Obviously, it's his ability, so you need to keep him alive. So I don't think he's one you're going to be throwing into combats sort of turn one at the front of the line. I think you're going to keep him behind your lines and use him to sort of master of battle heroic moves and that sort of thing.
I think it's worth. I just checked, and the first rule is a passive rule, and the second one is an active rule.
Right. Okay. So the passive one, that's kind of cool. If you're a happen to be fighting
the hatred bubble
enemies,
is always on.
Yeah, that's cool. The other one, yeah, he does have to be standing and untransfixed and all that. So that's interesting to know. I guess we'll go back to the army bonus. So we go back to talking about the army list rather than specific rules for profiles. So the army bonuses are really simple. The army bonus is the first special rule is the destruction of men, and basically it just increases the range of both of these. So the age of men is over, which is the 3-inch hatred man bubble, goes to 12 inches,
which is
just
massive
for the entire game. So that's great. That's really cool. So if you are fighting human enemies, pretty great, and that's passive. And then the range of the time of the orc has come goes to battlefield wide, which is also really good. So again, you could hide them back of the board and just go once per game, bam, we're doing reroll all wounds, and that's pretty huge. I can't remember if is it enchanted blades that lets you reroll wounds?
Yeah, on a single model.
But you have to cast it, and it gives you a single model, and that's you got to spend will and and there's not many models that have that sort of power. So there's not many things in the game that let you reroll all wounds, and let alone on your entire army, let alone on the entire battlefield on your entire army. So
I think it is just on the orcs though, isn't it?
Yes, sorry,
it's not on the
not
trolls.
Your entire army, but you probably are going to take a lot of orcs because you haven't got much else choice otherwise. But yes, for sure. But it's pretty impressive. But this is what we mean. But when we say the army makes Gothmog's rules better, and Gothmog makes the Morannon Orcs better. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and the other, there is another list rule which is he can stand fast orc heroes, can't he?
Yes, that's a fairly, well, it comes up in a few different lists, but yeah,
it's kind of a nice to have because he's a hero of legend. He'll pass the first one, so your army will probably stay around for one turn after being broken, and then they'll run away.
He's Courage 5+, which is pretty good for an orc. So actually, he stands a good chance of doing a decent, hold the line and do a little bubble around him. The final rule is actually Ruthless Assault, which is friendly orcs can reroll ones when making strikes against a trapped model. Lovely. I've forgotten it in both games I've played with this army.
Yeah.
So
it's one of those where it's nice to have, but sometimes getting traps is hard. And this army's kind of a sort of grindy, battle-liney army, so you don't have cavalry, so you can't get behind people very easily to cause traps. And it's just on the orcs as well, so it doesn't work on the trolls.
Which would be horrible. Would be great.
It'd be mad.
But who knows? So that's Gothmog. I think, well, you have to take him, and he has to be the general. So you're taking him if you're taking this list, and in other lists that he appears in, he's pretty good. If you're taking a lot of Morannons, he's really possibly a good choice.
And if you know that you're fighting men, he's a great choice.
He's an amazing choice. If you happen to know who you're playing ahead of time, then amazing. If you're fighting elves, maybe not so much. We'll go on to the next hero in the list, Gothmogs Enforcer. So he doesn't get a name. He's just the Enforcer. I can't remember what he is. Is he appear in the movie? Is he just sort of hovering near Gothmog's
there's
shoulder?
A couple of bits where he's like standing next to him in a couple of scenes in the movie, I think.
Being like, do what you're told.
Yeah, and he's just this little dude.
Yeah. So I don't know where they came up with the ideas for his rules, but his rules are nifty. He's 55 points, which is pretty cheap. That's cool. He's actually decreased by 5 points from last edition. Also pretty cool. He has a standard captain sort of array, so he's fight 4, strength 4, defense 6, attacks 2, wounds 2, courage 7 plus, which is fine. However, where he differs is he only has 1 might, but he has 3 will and 1 fate. Hand weapon, heavy armor, heroic defense, and a march, which is not as good. But his special rule is Gothmog's right hand. If he's within 3 inches of Gothmog, Gothmog can spend the Enforcer's will points to call heroic moves or heroic marches instead of spending his own might. And you can measure the with me or at the double from the Enforcer, which is, I think, new for this edition. So that's basically 55 points to give Gothmog 3 more might for the game. I think that's probably a decentish.
I think it's
buy.
Yeah, I think he's really interesting. I mean, the only thing with him is for 55 points, he's the same price as a Morannon Orc Captain, and it's worse.
Yeah, he's only strength 4, whereas a captain is strength 5. He's just got a hand weapon. He doesn't have march. He's got defense to keep himself alive.
He's got 1 might instead of. I mean, he's still, in terms of like if you can get him and you can play him with Gothmog, and they're within range, then it's great because you can just get all those extra moves. Probably, maybe the march, but I think most of the time you might save it just for the flexibility of moving.
I think it depends on the mission. If it's one where you have to rush towards the objectives, it's basically marches without having to spend Gothmog's might on them. So Gothmog gets there fresh, and you get there before your opponent, and you're a tough army, so maybe you can castle up on the objectives. And then I haven't got that much utility out of the measuring the move called by Gothmog from the Enforcer, but I'm sure it probably could come up because you might want to hide Gothmog, and you could put the Enforcer a bit further forward, 3 inches further forward, and just measure that bubble from there. Could be useful. I don't think he's an automatic buy, but I think if you're playing larger games, he's really interesting, and I would pay 55 points for giving one of my big heroes the ability to call 3 moves or marches without spending their own might.
I think he allows you to get a bit more mileage out of Gothmog, and that's for the good because, I mean, you kind of Gothmog needs to do work in this list basically, because he is expensive. But I mean, if the thing is if you take him and then you end up doing like a Maelstrom of Battle scenario, then you're kind of in trouble if they don't come on the same spot.
Or you just put them in the same. I guess. Oh no, you can't put them in the same warband, can you? Because they're in.
No, I mean, it's kind of weird that he's not an independent hero, I suppose, but.
Yeah, or he should have an option like Grima to just be like he can always be deployed in Gothmog's warband.
I think that would.
He's Enforcer.
Yeah, I think that would make it better. But I mean, in terms of Maelstrom, that will lead us nicely onto the next hero who we can talk about, which is this lovely fellow.
Skull hat. He's got a skull on his head because that makes him taller. Maybe he's conscious about his height. But Guritz, yeah. So again, they come in a 2-pack models wise. So these are Forge World miniatures, really lovely miniatures from last edition. He is 65 points, gone up from 5 points last edition. Still probably worth it, I think, potentially. He's fight 4, strength 5, so he's the same fight strength as a captain, defense 6, which is fine. 2 attacks, 2 wounds, courage 7 plus, sure. 2 might, 2 will, so he's got an extra will point over a captain, and 1 fate. He does have a 2-handed weapon with his big scythe thing, and a hand weapon, so that's cool. You get the option when you desperately don't want to risk the -1 on the dual roll. And he has heroic march, which is nice. So he's basically almost got the points of a got the stats of a Morannon Captain. But he's already got the two-handed weapon built in. He's got an extra point of will, which is fine, and he has a handy little special rule, which is the same as Madril's in Gondor. He has the Master Reserves, where you can do the +1 to your Warband roll on Maelstrom, and then when he's on the battlefield, he can add +1 to the other rolls. So that's, if you're building an event list where you're going to play a few games and Maelstrom might come up, it's always handy to be like, maybe I should take this character, and I can make sure I've got an edge over my opponent on the Maelstrom rolls.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's worth saying that compared to a Morannon Captain with a two-handed weapon, he is 5 points more.
Yeah, so basically you pay 5 points for an extra point of will and the Master of Reserves rule.
And I think he's intelligence 6 up instead of 7 up. So if
Oh,
that's
okay.
relevant, that's useful to have.
Yeah, could be. I think I'd pay that if and I think they're both. So a captain is. They're both heroes of fortitude, so it doesn't affect your
So
list.
if you've got 5 points, he's worth taking, and he's not even like Madril, where he's potentially a kind of downgrade from a Gondor captain. He's exactly the same as a Morannon captain, just 5 points more expensive.
Yeah, I think 5 points. It depends completely on the list you're building, but if you're building a sort of generalist list to try and go to an event, 5 points for a Master of Reserves is definitely worth it, I'd say. I guess the only downside is he's nothing special. 2 attacks, 2 wounds, 1 fate. He can die just as fast as anyone else, but then that's true of anyone's captain, so you just have to kind of think of him as a regular captain. I guess that takes us on to our next hero.
Which is the Morannon Captain.
Morannon Captain, that's very exciting. Very much the same, not too much to go over. He has Heroic March, he has a hand weapon, heavy armor, and can take a shield and a two-handed weapon. So he can go up to
or a two-handed
points.
I think.
Or a two-handed, sorry. But he can go up to 65, 50, 60. Sorry, he can go up to 60 points and start at 55. He's gone up a little bit since last edition, but not majorly. What do you want to say about captains? He does have End the Race of Men as a special rule, which is cool. So he has the +1, the Hatred Man.
So the +1 fight. If he's
sorry.
fighting a man. Yeah.
Yes, the army list gives you the thing.
And sorry, you were right. He can actually take a shield and a two-handed weapon, but obviously you can't use them both at the same time.
I guess if you really want to shield one turn and you want to two-hand the next turn.
Or BD7.
But yeah, I mean, so I guess he can go up to, if you're fighting men, you can go up to fight 5 with him, which is cool. Relatively, I don't know how common it is, but the relatively talked about banner of Minas Tirith with Boromir obviously makes the Gondorians who are now fight 4 win against your buffed fight 4, but the captain would go to fight 5 and win against a warrior, which is, you would hope so. So
yeah,
sure, for 55 to 60 points, he's good. He's fine. He's strength 5 with a 200 weapon, which is quite unusual.
and I mean, against a Gondor captain who are fight 5, they don't get the benefit from the banner because they're not warriors. So I guess in that situation, at least you get to go to a roll off. And then if you're if you're fighting other men like Rohan, say,
he's fine. Yeah, again, he's not any much better than, or is actively worse than an Uruk-hai captain, who I think is about the same stats but better courage. Is also strength 5, can take a 200 weapon, that sort of thing. I guess if you got the perfect setup where you got a trap on a man model with a two-handed weapon, and Gothmog had called the time of the Orc was come, you could be re-rolling. You could be strength 5 with +1 to wound, +1 from the hatred, and then re-rolling all wounds.
Yeah.
So you could do a lot of damage to a human model if you trap them with all the buffs. But obviously that's when does everything in the game go exactly the way you want?
If you get the ideal situation, he's pretty killy. Basically, is what you're saying.
That's cool, but that's it.
Yeah, I mean, I think
so
in general, because we'll get onto the Morannons, but there are no two-handed weapons other than on Guritz and the Morannon Captain, and on the Troll. But
yeah, they're
but
the options are pretty low compared to an Orc. So it's nice to have the two-handed weapon just because sometimes that +1, like he could walk up to a Troll or an Ent and actually pose a slight threat if you won the dual roll.
Yeah, he has a chance.
Which is cool. Yeah.
Cool. Like if they were transfixed, which takes us nicely onto the next hero. Look at this. It's like it's planned.
Very exciting. Well, excitingly, an addition, and I was really pleased to see this. I did see in the sort of the previews that we've seen that actually, because I was kind of worried that I quite like the ability for evil to sprinkle in shamans more than good can. So like, most good lists can't just take a random wizard, or especially not a low level one. The elves can take some wind callers, or they could last edition. But I really like this, so I'm really happy to sit back. I don't know if he's particularly good, but I just think thematically it's really cool. He is, I believe, is he an independent hero or minor hero?
I think he's a minor. It's six warriors in his warband. So or at least that's how he was before.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's right. His stats are pretty rubbish for an Orc hero. Fight 3, Strength 3, only Defense 5, only 1 attack, 2 wounds, 1 fate, only 1 might, but 3 will, which is the same for Magic Casters last edition. He has heroic channeling, obviously, and the 3 spells he has now, I don't know if this is true compared to last edition. Fury, Mordor Orc, which is pretty cool, cast on a 3+, which is decent. Curse, which is really cool, range 12, cast on a 4-up, and Transfix, 12-inch, cast on a 5-up. So interesting selection of spells, 3 spells, which I think a lot of shamans and people only had 2.
They used to have 2 generally, so maybe this will be standard across all of the sort of the cheaper casters.
But that's really cool. I think Fury's an obvious one because you cast it and it sadly no longer gives you the 6-up save roll against wounds, but it does make you fearless, which I think in this edition is more significant than last edition, and it was very significant last edition. Not only for sticking around once you've broken, but also for charging terror-causing enemies, of which there are more, and charging enemies when you have Fearful cast on you, which is a new ability, but is actually potentially quite prevalent. Curse is cool, the ability to knock a fate off someone. Cast on a 4-up, you might want to try that. Transfix on a 5-up, super powerful spell if you can get it at the right time. 5-up's quite tough, so I don't know if you'd probably just throw at least 2 will on that, if not all 3. I think as a spoiler, recently I played a game. We played a game for the channel, and I had a shaman because he's super cool. The model's really lovely, and I threw 2 dice on Fury to keep the courage bubble up, and I channeled Transfix. I spent his 1 point of might to channel a Transfix because now it just counts as having cast on a 6. So you spent 1 will point and 1 might point on a Transfix. I didn't have to risk the 5-up roll and just Transfix an enemy hero 1 turn and didn't have to worry about it, which I think is actually pretty powerful. Whichever way around you do that, obviously up to whoever. But I think it's a really cool ability to just go, this he's 50 points, I think, 50-point model, spending a might and a will, and just having the ability to maybe transfix, someone quite powerful.
Yeah, I think it's quite strong. And the potential, obviously, then you do need to follow up in some way and successfully do something with that transfix model. But
yeah, you have to do it when you're going to be making really good use of it.
Yeah, he gives you just a little bit of utility that the list didn't really have. And I also think the curse is interesting because, I mean, it's a 4 up, so it's a 50-50 chance, but then a fate point roll is a 50-50 chance. So if you
Yep.
can take that away before your opponent has to start making the rolls, it could be good.
Yeah, I mean, it really depends. Like if you, especially some of the heroes like Theoden, going back to my Rohan love, only has one fate because he dies. Spoilers. So if you could knock Theoden's fate off before the lines even clashed, you could really make your opponent think twice about whether or not they're going to throw their hero into the fray.
Yeah,
Um,
and it could be really good on some of those characters like I think does not Durin Fror has one fate, but he gets to
oh
keep
yeah, I
it.
think you're right. He passes it on a 3 up and on a 4 up.
He
Gets
keeps it.
back.
But
Yeah.
so like if you curse that off of him, he doesn't get that rule
Mm,
anymore, which is quite a big deal.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, that's really cool. Or maybe you throw, it's a scary thing. You throw one dice at it and try and cast it, and your opponent has decided they're going to spend will on it to resist it because they want to keep their fate. And if they do spend will on it, even if they resist it, you can be like, cool, I now have a transfix.
yeah,
And you're
exactly.
out of
Like
will, or you have
you can
less
just
will.
follow up.
So, yeah. But
Um,
I think we're getting into just magic in general, which we could probably
yeah, I
talk
think I
about for
mean
a
it's
while.
it's I mean it's just nice to see the shaman in. He's a nice extra unit.
Yeah,
In
I
the
like
list
his
that
model as well. He's
yeah,
got like
it's a
a big
nice
cloak that looks kind of uh, not cartoonish, but like traditionally evil. He looks like an
yeah
orc who other orcs feel is a bit spooky.
yeah. I think he's still in the Morannon command, but there is like an orc, a specific Morannon looking orc shaman. He's got the same armor, he's got the cloak. He's a nice model.
Okay, right, yeah. He's cool.
Um, but yeah, so I guess so that's all the heroes, right?
I think so.
So, as we say, it's a short selection,
Yep.
which just takes us on to the mainstay of the army, I guess.
Mm, which is Morannon Orcs. It's a
And
lovely
there they are.
picture. I mean, it's not emblematic. That's the wrong word, but a good illustration because that's the if you can see the picture, if you're listening along, it's them outside the walls of Minas Tirith, the huge army of however 100,000 or something. That's how many you want to take. You want to take as many as you can squish into the army because that's the one thing your army um, buffs, and that's what your heroes buff. Um, so Morannon Orc Warrior is 8 points, quite expensive. Um, they can take a banner for 25 points as standard. They can take a shield and a spear for 2 points, or a shield or a spear for 1 point each. So the shield and spear ones, you're looking at a 10-point warrior model. I don't know if they're worth it for that, but we've been over that slightly. They are fight 3 as standard. They are strength 4, defense 5, so they go up to 6 with the shield. 1 attack, courage 8 plus. Sure. They do have the end the race of men rule, which the captain and Guritz both have as well, which gives them +1 fight against men. Cool if you're fighting Rohan, or I can't think of any other man lists who are fight 3 base anymore. Dale maybe, or Lake Town, sorry.
Lake Town
Dale
is.
fight 4.
Dale isn't. Dale's fight 4.
Yeah. That's cool, but yeah. Yeah, they're. I mean, we've already been over them slightly. That you basically, I think, are trying to hope on your strength 4 doing a decent amount of work in the same way you would with Uruk-hai. They have shields at least, so you can shield. And I think basically with them, you're going to do, as you've said, Jules, your battle line, a line of shields and a line of spears behind. Um, I found it useful just for my bookkeeping to give everyone shields, so all 20, 30 orcs shields, because then the entire army was defense 6. One for survivability, because it ticks like bows, strength 2 up into when you on 6s rather than 5s. And 2 just made it easier at bookkeeping, but it meant like if a spear was fighting on the front line, they were just as tough, which is cool. And it
Yeah, I
gives
mean,
everyone the ability to shield.
the problem is, I suppose, it's because they're 8 points. You need to drop 8 shields to get
Mm,
one extra model.
yeah, it's
So
not
a
a
lot of the
huge
time,
amount.
I don't know if it's worth it. Like,
Yeah, if you're looking at a 5 point goblin and you've got 20 goblin spears with shields, if you dropped the the shields on all of them, you could buy 4 more goblins, which actually is
Exactly.
maybe the right call. I think goblins are 5 points still. It's been a while since I looked at them.
Yeah, I don't think they can have spears and shields either. But
Yeah,
but
maybe not.
but
But
the point
you get the
still
point.
sort of stands is that you might think, oh, I can save some points here and that's going to give me more, but actually you have to save a lot of points for it to
Yeah.
work.
If you're
I
playing a huge army, point like 800,000 point game, then yeah, and you're having like
yeah,
50 Morannons, sure, maybe you will save enough points to buy a few more orcs.
I suppose it'd be interesting to see if there's some space in kind of having no shields at all and just relying on your heavy armor.
Mm.
Um,
I mean, Defense 5 is still decent. It's what a lot of mid to low defense armies start at 4 and had to buy a shield to go to 5. Um, Actually, I think almost the thing I like about shields is the defense value is great, but I'm a big fan of using shielding, like throwing a single orc or warrior against an enemy hero, and suddenly you're both throwing 2 dice, and
yeah,
it gives you that chance to just stop up an enemy hero. Yeah, I've done it a few times where an enemy captain calls a heroic combat or something, or a hero with only 2 attacks base, and you beat them on the dice roll, and neither side has a banner, and you're like, cool, that 8 point 9 point warrior just wasted a heroic combat. But
yeah,
anyway, that's probably a broader point again. Morannon Orcs, yeah, they're okay. They're probably overcosted, but they are, whether you like it or not, the mainstay of this entire army, and Gothmog buffs them with 2 discrete rules. The army bonus gives you a third, and they come with a fourth in their profile. So, kind of like with Captain, if you can get that perfect matchup against a man army with all the bonuses firing at the same time, they can get pretty scary. And you can probably take enough of them because you haven't got much else in this list to spend points on.
yeah. I mean, they are designed to crack through Gondor essentially.
Mm, yeah, they're
Um,
meant to break open a Gondor shield wall, which is super thematic, but again, it's probably something we could talk about on a different day. But whether or not that lends itself to, I would say, the majority of the time, you don't decide to take 2 narratively opposed armies. You go, I've been painting
yeah,
this army. I've been painting Dale. Well, actually, that's Man Army, so it doesn't really make sense. But I've been painting Lothlorien because I really enjoy painting them. Do you fancy a game? And you go, oh yeah, I've been painting Army of Gothmog. Sure. And you turn up and go like, oh, my army bonus doesn't work. Or you go to an event and you get matched against 3, 4, 5, 6 different players, and you don't fight the person who you're the perfect counter to, and you're like, oh, I never got to use that army, that rule.
yeah.
Um, But hey, that's something. Yeah, again, it's something to talk about in depth another time, maybe.
I mean, they're definitely, I would say, basically with the Morannon Orcs is that they're kind of like one of the strong points about the army, but they're also one of the limitations of the army.
I think
Um,
that's fair.
like they're decent, but they're expensive.
I think that's fair. Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, then the other kind of, I guess, main choice
Mm.
is our favourites, the Mordor Trolls.
Hey, they are great. Having painted 2, I think one of the biggest downgrades in model quality. I painted 1 old metal one and 1 plastic one, and the metal one is just so much more detailed. It was more difficult to work with in that it is a honking great lump of metal, and like I was really worried with it on the painting handle. I was trusting to the super glue on the base holding and not just the whole thing falling off. But just everything on that model is. I painted them both at the same time, so I could literally compare as I was going. I guess it's just a bit of an old. It's an old plastic kit. It's like 15 years old or something, so it's proper old school, probably hand sculpted, old style sprue where everything's just quite laid out with a lot of space in between. So yeah, but the either model, profile wise, they are 90 points, which is not too bad for a monster. They can take a single upgrade, which is the war drum, for 25 points. So they get quite expensive, but it does give you the drum option. It's the only way you can get a war drum in this list. Potentially quite good. Doesn't replace the weapon either, so you're not reducing the capability of the troll. They have a standard-ish upper level troll stat line, so fight 7, which is are still decent in this current edition. Strength 7, Defense 7, 3 attacks. They have gone up to 4 wounds from 3 wounds last edition, so they are tough. Courage 6 plus, which is quite nice. Heavy armor, hand and a half weapon, which is lovely. So last edition they had, I don't
No,
remember.
it was a hand and a half in the last.
It was a hand and a half. Okay. Well, and they could take spears maybe, or maybe only certain trolls could. But yeah,
No, I think that's the Isengard troll can take a spear. I think.
Troll. Excuse me. Yeah, it's because it's all the same plastic kit, builds all of them.
It's all the same kit, so it's a little bit confusing. But yeah,
it's a little bit confusing. But
historically, people haven't liked them because they have a big base.
I think they were 60 mil. It was the slight incongruity of these were 60 mil, the cave trolls were 40 mil bases, and some others might have been a different one. And one of the other big changes is base sizes have gone up in this edition for monsters, so the trolls have all gone to 50 mil at least, whereas these are still on 60s, so they are bigger.
And that was, I guess. I mean, it makes sense because actually, once you've built one of them and you put them next to the units, they are big guys. Like the model is pretty large.
We have several cave trolls, and they are significantly chunkier than the cave troll. And the poses as well. The metal one in particular is doing a proper like arm swinging, so their arms take up quite a lot of the base, so they feel like a big presence on the base, which is cool. Rules wise, they have dominant 3, which is obviously new to this edition. That's pretty good. Might you win your game. They cause terror, which again could be good, but the same, and they can throw stones, which I am always a big advocate of because I have killed and wounded some quite big heroes with the cheeky throw stones recently. So yeah, trolls, they haven't changed that much. It's cool that you can take them. They don't actually interact with the army bonuses that much, but they don't need to. Monsters in general have had a buff this edition with all the funky things they can do. They're decent. I mean, strength 7 with the ability to two-hand to get the +1 to wound is nice.
Well, I also think the other thing for monsters, because these guys are fight 7, right? The changes to heroic strike means that like some random named Orc Captain can't just walk up to a troll and be like, "Hey, I'm going to heroic strike and go to like fight 11."
A fight 5 enemy good hero, like a minor hero with strike, can't rely. Whereas before, I'd be pretty confident that you'd match or on a d6 match or go higher than a troll. Whereas now it's a big risk. You stand a 2/3 chance of matching, but only a 1/3 chance of actually beating.
Well, yeah, because I guess like even someone like relatively top tier like Emma has a chance of just matching the troll.
Which could be disastrous.
And like Theoden in a Rohan list, you're spending might on something and you might end up getting squished, or
well, even something like Emma, who is a beast. If you lose that, we've all had dice rolls where you roll like a 3 high on 4 dice, and even with a banner reroll, and your opponent rolls a 6, and then you're like, eek, and then because it's a monster, I would just go like rend.
Tear them apart,
or take you off your horse straight away and then hit you. Super good. I mean, generally pretty good. I think for 90 points they're a steal. In anything over, we'll get onto lists a little bit later, but for anything over about 500 points, and even then, I would just throw one in, because the ability to just throw a terror-causing monster that's fight 7 in the middle of the board is great, and defense 7 4 wounds is tough nowadays.
They're quite sort of tanky in that regard.
Which they should be. I mean, we've seen those bits like in the film where they come through the gates and they just like bowl through the lines. That's what they should do, right?
I think one weakness with them is intelligence 8 means that you might not get much value out of hurling.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame. But who knows? It could come in clutch one day. If you do it, you risk it, and it goes off well.
Yeah, I mean, you can get lucky, and you can throw someone at someone, and do a good dismount, or
yeah, for some reason you're against the mounted hero, and you don't think they're really tough, so you're not going to do much damage to them. I guess someone like because Gandalf the White I'm pretty sure has Horse Lord and a lot of fate between him and
Yeah.
Shadowfax. So they've only got 3 attacks. If you won the fight against him and choose to strike Shadowfax to get him off his horse to reduce mobility, you might actually be like, well, I'm only wound twice, and actually Gandalf has rerollable fate. He might well succeed all of them. Whereas if you just hurl, even if you fail the intelligence check, your opponent gets to pick the model that he's thrown at, but you still throw him and dismount him automatically, which is really good. So, or someone like Aemma, I would potentially, or Elisar, potentially just be like,
Well, yeah,
let's
and
just get
because
you away from here.
even if they've got Horse Lord, if you actually throw them, it doesn't matter. The horse is gone because they're just dismounted.
That's what I mean. And it doesn't matter if you fail the intelligence check, because if your opponent gets to pick, they still have to throw him at someone, and he's still getting thrown. So yeah, maybe, or you just go like, I don't want you anywhere near my battle line. Go away.
Yeah, just go away.
Go away, please. So that's, yeah. I like trolls. I've got a soft spot for them. I think they're not an auto include, but there's a strong case for having them.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, in this army for sure, because like we say, you've got Morannon Orcs and you've got Trolls. Those are your two kind of like battle liney units. And then, I mean, for the last 2 units, we've got siege weapons.
Hey, Orc Catapults. So again, see them in the movie. Great model, I think. I really like the miniature. It's quite old, but I just think it's really characterful.
Yeah, it's got some nice guys.
Standard-ish siege weapon, apart from it comes with a troll as a loader. So it's 150 points, and in that 150 points, you do get a troll, which is pretty cool. It can have it comes with 3 crew and a troll, and it can take severed heads upgrades for 20 points and flaming ammunition for 10 points. The crew is standard stats. The troll is fight 7, strength 7 still, only defense 6, but still 4 wounds, so it's still a Mordor Troll. It's just 1 defense lower. Has all the standard stuff. It only has a hand weapon instead of hand and a half, but that's not too bad. Siege weapons, I think, have been again hit a little bit with the nerf. I don't think they were that strong in the last edition. We played them in doubles a couple of times, and they did okay, but they didn't do amazing.
I think they're not
amazing, but
siege weapons aren't very strong, but they do kind of have like a heavy amount of kind of feels bad for your opponent at times.
Maybe, or maybe they can force the issue of like, your Lothlorien army was pretty shooty, but only up to range 24, and if you fought this list with a catapult in, they could force you to come towards them, basically.
Yeah, basically. But I mean, I think of the siege weapons, this is one of my favorites, just because you've got a troll.
Yeah.
I mean, cool. He needs to stay in the old rules. I think he could wander off, but in the new one, he's got to stay with the catapult for it to function. Which is kind of a shame.
Fire it a few times and then be like, okay, the battle started. I'm going to send the troll in.
Here comes the troll.
Here comes the troll. That's cool. Yeah, it does have a minimum range now, which makes sense thematically and technically, but it's minimum range 12. So
yeah. I suppose that's
opponent gets close. Hey,
that's the other reason for the troll to wander off.
That's just true.
And
threat bubble.
And it also means, because of the way siege weapon deployment works, certain scenarios you can end up really, really screwed, because you have to put your siege weapon down, and then there's like a maelstrom deployment, and you've got no units next to it. But this one's got a troll, so the troll can just be like, "Hey, yeah, come."
That's cool. Yeah, I mean, the troll loader does give a bonus. You could reroll the hit roll if the troll's operating the thing, which I mean, most crew only have a 4-up shoot value, but this does as well. That's really decent, actually, and it's it's strength 10 shot, and then as with, I think, the trebuchet, it has an area of effect, so it hits a model, you do the normal scatter rules, and then everyone within 2 inches suffers a strength 5 hit and are knocked prone. So it's pretty powerful. Again, the sort of Gondor battle line, if you manage to hit right in the middle of it, sort of a turn before you charge, knock a hole in it and knock everyone prone, it could be pretty horrible. Against cavalry, super horrible against the cavalry army. Dismount loads of people. It's rough, so that's cool. It has a wall breaker special rule where you make extra rolls against a siege target. Cool, unless not valid unless you're playing siege. The severed heads upgrade is kind of funky. Again, the bit in the movie where they throw the heads in the siege. You don't roll to wound, but the target that you hit after the scatter, and everyone within 3 have to take a courage check, and if they fail, they're just removed. Pretty good. Completely dependent on who you're playing against. So again, your Lothlorien army we've talked about before happened courage 5+, I think, base, and then
Yeah, but I had a horn, so it was
had a warhorn, so 4+. I don't think I played you with the three trolls all causing terror. I don't think you failed a courage check.
I mean, I think I played 6 games at
Scouring, yeah.
Yeah,
6.
I think of the 6 games, I mean, I didn't come up. I actually came up against a few terror causing things, but I basically failed like 2 courage checks, maybe.
Yeah, because you're 4+ at worst, which is but you're fighting goblins. Sweet.
Yeah, but I suppose I mean because the severed heads, it's an upgrade. You don't have to use them. But also they work on everything. So like you could fire them at a Mumak.
Yeah.
And the Mumak might run away.
That would be very funny. For some reason, yeah.
Yeah, like there's no limits on whether it would work or not, basically.
Yeah, that's true. Unless it gets FAQ'd, but yeah, I mean, I think unless you were going with a really large list, I'm not sure I would bother. But it's a cool unit, and maybe that's completely wrong. Maybe they're super meta and really good. I think in situations they could be very powerful. In certain situations they would just be useless. And whereas it's 15 Morannons worth if you took Spear and Shield. It's an entire extra warband of Morannons.
Yeah, it's 150 points.
Yeah. So it's 15 more Morannon Orcs, and I think in a game where you're trying to win, 15 Morannon Orcs are probably going to do more work for you than a single water catapult. Who knows? But there might be situations where the opposite is true. The extra troll, some extra big strength 10 shots, and then an extra troll do amazing work. Who knows?
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, so then for a cheap siege weapon, is the siege bow.
The second thing added from the Armies of Middle-earth book, which is again really cool to see. I wasn't expecting the siege bow to stick around because
I thought it was gone.
It's not something from the books explicitly. It's not something from the movies. It's a GW invention, and it's been in and out of stock for a while. I think it's been out of stock for a little while, but it came back with the made to order. We got one. We haven't got it yet, or you've got it but not assembled it. I can't remember. But they're cool. It's I guess the Mordor answer to the what's the Gondor one? The Avenger.
The Avenger, bolt thrower.
So it is a sort of multi-shot, direct shot rather than arcing shot. It's kind of like a big bow. Strength 8 though, compared to the Gondor strength 7.
Well, because it's not multi-shot, it's piercing shot like the Isengard Ballista. So it's just the one shot, but it does have accurate, so it doesn't scatter too much.
Accurate and piercing shot. So again, the ability to potentially sort of, if your opponent's hiding Boromir on horse, but behind a warrior, you can potentially hit the warrior, fling him back into Boromir, and knock him off his horse, which should be pretty cool. It's alright. It's strength 8, defense 10 on the bow itself. Has a veteran and some crew. Minimum range 6 up to 48. So if for some reason you wanted to sit in camp and sort of shoot, you might want to take one. It's only 50 points, which is interesting. So you could take 3 for the cost of 1 siege catapult.
Yeah, I mean, I think it seems like there's been a lot of anecdotal things about the ballistas on Corsairs being effective.
Oh, really?
And I think they're also 50 points, but the Corsairs have got better shoot values, I think. But still, I mean, for 50 points, it might be worth it. It's only 5 Morannons with spear and shield, I guess.
Yeah. And potentially, if you're playing a mission where you're fine sitting and sort of ceding ground, having 3 or 4, 5 good turns of shooting with the ability to knock people prone could be really good. You're evil, so you could leave them like on a hill behind your battle line, just carry on firing into combat and not really care about hitting your own guys because be amusing. So yeah, I think situational. It's okay. It is only 50 points. It would be interesting to maybe you could double down and play like 1,000 point game and take 4 of them and see what happens.
I mean, I think a lot of the thing with siege weapons is really just the psychological element
Mm,
of
yeah,
your
making your opponent
opponent.
move towards you.
Yeah, your opponent being like either like I need to move towards or I need to try to avoid, and it could play in that regard. And for 50 points, it might be more worth it than the catapult.
Yeah, I think it's a solid psychological weapon almost in that regard. Who knows? Who knows?
But yeah, I mean, so that's it for the army,
That's
basically,
it.
isn't it? It's they are simple. I mean,
Hmm.
I guess
Kind of where I picked this.
the only list that might be simpler would be like Rohan if you ignore all of the heroes,
Mm.
because you've just got two warrior types
Well, like
potentially.
the Beornings because there's the heroes and one warrior, but they're quite complex in how they work. Um, yeah, in terms of like Mordor is the archetypal evil list, and this is the most cookie cutter of the Mordor lists, I would say, which is why we chose it. There are lists like the Legion of Mordor. Is the Legion of Mordor Hosts of Mordor? Um,
Legions of Mordor.
which is basically everything. So you can take a kind of old style pick and mix, do your own list style thing. But obviously, because that's got so many things in, the varieties of lists you could have with that are quite big. Whereas this, you have to have Gothmog, and he has to be a general. And unless you're doing something strange, you're gonna take maybe one or two of the named heroes and a bunch of Morannons, and everything else is debatable. So that's it. It's quite simple. And yeah, it's an interesting army. I'm not sure it's the world's best army. In fact, it's been kind of talked down this edition. It was I never played it last edition. I think it was interesting last edition over taking Mordor like unlegendary Legion version because it gave you the army bonuses. Um, but yeah, I guess it is just a bit of a shame that it's the um, only bonuses versus man models, whereas it would be interesting to see them branch out. But it's thematic.
I think yeah. I mean, in the last edition and in this edition, Mordor's always kind of suffered from uh, kind of not great heroes in terms of combat heroes.
Mm.
In the last edition, you had Shagrat and Gothmog, and then it would be Ringwraiths on a Fell Beast, but none of them had super high fight. And with the
Yeah.
changes in fight, Gothmog's kind of been left behind because he
Well,
doesn't
and
have.
specifically reduced. He's lost the
Yeah,
attack. He's lost
because he's
strike.
lost the attack and he's lost the strike. He just
Yeah.
can't compete anymore with
Yeah.
the
And
stuff.
he can master battle heroic strike, but he's only fight 5, so not many good heroes are going to need to strike against him. And yeah,
Yeah,
I
then
guess
then you're just
master battle because it's 6 inches. It's not the person you're in combat with, so he could potentially, if for some reason, I guess a hero might strike against your troll, and then he could be within six
yeah.
inches to go. I copy you, and then also charge in, or charge someone else. But it's going to be really hard to. Again, you got to be having that perfect setup. Um,
Yeah, and potentially you'd need him to like sync up with a um like with the troll, and then maybe have a heroic combat from someone else. And yeah, I mean, I think you're better off just kind of trying to leverage the. Assuming you're playing humans,
mhm.
you're looking to leverage the hatred, um,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
call
I
the
think so.
time of the orcas come at the right time. Um,
Yeah, yeah. I think it's going to rely on you having an amazing turn against whoever with that time the orcas come rule, and using that as your decisive turn, maybe with a troll or something, um, and using that to really get ahead of your opponent, and then just carrying on incrementally moving across the battlefield. But I think it's a tough one. But I mean, should we could move on to some lists and
yeah, I mean,
not just talking about how good they are.
I think I mean we don't want to be overly negative. I mean, in terms of kind of what is good about the Army of Gothmog, as we said at the start, I think it's a really easy army to get into.
Yeah.
Um,
If you happen to have bought either two of these previous starter boxes, Pelennor Fields or Skiliath, you
yeah, you
will
have Morannon
own
Orcs.
Morannon Orcs. They are pretty cheap on eBay. Just to buy, you can buy sprues of them. Gothmog, I'm pretty sure you can buy them as a solo model now. And the Orc Command, the Morannon Orc Command, you can buy as a kit, or potentially just convert a captain and a banner on out of some Morannon Orcs. There's,
Yeah, I mean, so that's the first list that I just put here. It's probably not a great list, but it's 500 points. You could probably buy, if you could get a box of Morannons on eBay, or even just buy the box. As Boz just says, if you can convert a Morannon Orc Captain and a Morannon Orc Warrior from that box with a banner, and then find yourself a Troll and Gothmog, you can do 500 points for very little cost, like money cost.
Yeah, so that is, I think we're going to try in this series to give an example 500-point army for every army list we talk about, and we're going to frame it as a good starting point for that army to get into the game, and but also one that isn't awful. Like, you don't want to take it's not it's not actively bad, but it's well enough that you could turn up at a gaming club, you could turn up at your friend's house with this army and have an okay game, and you will learn the mechanics behind the army, and you'll learn the mechanics of the game. So this list, as you say, it's one box of orcs. We're also trying to factor in collectability. One box of Morannon Orcs, Gothmog, and then if you can convert or buy the command, great, and a troll, and that will give you a battle line, 2 heroes, one on a warg, a monster to start doing monster shenanigans, and against other 500-point armies, depending on the army, obviously, and the objective, you might do all right. You've got, the troll and Gothmog are both dominant because Gothmog's the general, and general's game dominant. Yeah, you might do all right.
I don't think Gothmog's on a warg on this, but you could do that. You just need to drop 2 Morannons.
Yeah, sorry, I misread. But yes, I don't think it's the end of the world to have him on foot, because you are missing the handy thing is the 14 mil base does extend your
the bigger base is really handy, but a canny opponent that's got shooting might just take him off the warg quite quickly.
Absolutely, and it does give him the extra attack and then the knockdown against infantry, which is really cool. But at this list, his main use is to sit in the middle, threaten Master of Battle towards the end of the game when your opponent is using their last points of might to do heroic moves, and they know that you can just copy them on a 2-up, and then there's a chance they will lose the move off and then lose the point of might. Is a super powerful ability. I'm pretty sure he has the best Master of Battle in the game, because Azog and Bolg used to have it on a really. In one list, they got it in a really.
I think they got it on maybe they got it on a 2-up before, and he was always just automatic.
He was flat.
He's a 2-up now. No one else has got it. No one's got it automatic. So
no.
Yeah.
And I think Azog and Bolg, or even anyone else who used to have a good one, it's gone up, as in it's got worse, which is probably a good thing. So yeah, it's a decent list, and again, one you can collect super easily, super simply, pretty cheap. Most of it's plastic. In fact, all of it's plastic if you don't buy a metal troll and convert the command, which is cool.
And they're relatively easy to paint.
Yes, yeah. There's a lot of metal, which is cool.
Yeah, so then there's another one so this is also 500, but this would be potentially you drop the troll, you get a few more models, but you could put in Guritz and the Enforcer at 500 points.
They're a blister together from Forge World War Games Workshop. So if you've bought I forget what the blister name is called, but if you buy that blister and Gothmog and do the same thing, then yeah, you've got 28 models, which is a healthy number at 500 points.
Yeah, and again, it's still not necessarily like top tier, but it gives you some stuff to play with.
It won't do anything flashy. You don't have anything high strength to deal with something super nasty. Big heroes will just take your list apart, or this list apart. But you do get Guritz for some Maelstrom shenanigans. You get the Enforcer, so effectively this list has 6 might, but actually it's 9 might, which is pretty good for a 500-point army. And you just, again, your list is just meeting the enemy head on and grinding them down in a battle line.
Yeah, I mean, there is basically a theme with the Army of Gothmog, which is hey, you're going
Yep.
to smash into someone and try and beat them.
Yeah.
You
You
can't do
probably
much
won't die
else.
super quick. Yeah. You probably won't die super quick, and if you are, you might be in trouble.
Yeah. And then I think I just put in one just to show, if you go to 800 points, you
Yeah.
can get that catapult in.
It's a
Um,
relatively standard sort of larger event size points limit.
yeah, and I mean this is 39 models, which is quite a lot
Yeah.
considering there is a Mordor Troll and a War Catapult in it.
Yeah.
Um,
Which is really good.
uh, but the same sort of thing applies. You basically have your battle line of Morannons. You try and
Hmm.
leverage the catapult. The troll is there, hopefully to deter or to deal with nasty heroes.
Well, you do have
Um,
2 trolls in this list, technically.
yes, yeah, true. I mean, the catapult maybe you could be. I think the thing with the catapult is potentially you can be quite aggressive with it, and you can
Hmm.
put it like right up on the front line.
If it fires like twice and then the crew die and the troll just has to get stuck in, you're like, oh well, what a shame, another troll.
It's worth it. Um,
I will say the list I played recently, I didn't have a catapult because we don't own the model, but I just took 2 Mordor Trolls, and it was good fun. They're quite scary to sort of psych out your opponent with. I mean that's true of any kind of monsters and lists, like the Eagles say, so they're pretty scary. Dropping one into an otherwise non-monster list can be fun. But I'm a fan of monsters.
yeah, and there's a lot of wounds on the two. A lot of high
Mm.
defense wounds on those trolls.
Yeah, that's 8 wounds of defense 6 and 7, which is pretty tough to chew through. Unless you have a monster. Sorry, a hero or another monster.
But yeah, I mean, it's hard to kind of then I do like the sort of theme of the Army of Gothmog
Hmm.
in the movie.
I mean, we've wanted to collect, not wanted, we've had the stuff to collect this for a couple of years because we bought the starter boxes. And I bought Guritz and the Enforcer a while ago because I was like, last edition, I was like, we should just have this army because it's a good base to start a lot of other armies with. Um, just again collecting wise rather than rules wise, it's a really good one to just be like, I've now painted 30, 40 Morannons. I can do a bunch of different armies now. Um, it's cool to have sitting on your shelf.
Yeah, and I suppose that's probably like the a sort of final point in their favor is that they are like a good gateway army. Um, if you
They
if
are a
you
gateway.
they're a gateway drug. I mean, if you buy a box of 24 Morannons and paint them, that is all the Morannons you will ever need, probably.
Until you get to like an 800-point army of them. But then you may as well just paint another 12 or 24, and then you're definitely there. 48 Morannons is probably the most you'll ever need unless you're playing
But
a
then
Blackgate open scenario.
they can go in the Legion of Mordor list, which gives you a lot more different options.
Mm.
They're the main troop in the Blackgate Opens, which is
Yep.
quite a strong Mordor list. I think
Yep.
definitely
Yep.
much stronger than it used to be.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, but that's again more technical and finesse. So we've chosen to start our Mordor discussion with the Army of Gothmog. It's probably worth mentioning that we will go back to other Mordor lists like the Blackgate Opens because it's different enough as a faction overview.
yeah, and I mean I think that's it. It's basically it's a nice little themey army
Hmm.
that in certain situations actually does a lot of work for you.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah, and if you're interested in learning the game in terms of shield wall or warrior battle lines, taking objectives, playing the match play element of the game, or you're just really a fan of the Battle of the Pelennor Fields, but like the evil side, this is the army for you. In terms of collecting as well, it's probably one of the easiest, most cost-effective evil armies to start collecting with. I would say to get a largish amount of models on the table. Obviously, something like you could buy the 3 trolls and that's 3 models and you're done, and that can be a 1,000-point army.
for
That's very
free.
cost-effective. Yes, but in terms of if you want to put down 20, 30, 40 models on the battlefield for a relatively cheap price, this is a really good one.
Yeah, I think it's one of the cheapest ways to have one of those sort of like more like mass unit armies.
Yeah, yeah, I'd say so. I'd say so.
Um,
Well, I think that's a pretty good run through of the army. We've gone through quite a lot of it. There's not too much more to say, although we'll just keep talking ourselves in circles. Any final thoughts from yourself on the Army of Gothmog?
I mean, yeah, I do think they've been done slightly dirty. Um,
Mm.
but I also kind of understand why Gothmog shouldn't be a combat beast.
Oh, I understand all of the reasons behind it. It's just a shame where they've come out. In isolation, they're quite interesting. When compared in the context of all the other army lists in the game, they come out quite far down the bottom, in my opinion, which is a shame.
Yeah, I mean, I think the age of men is over. Potentially could just be like the age of good is over. Um,
Yeah, yeah,
because in a lot of matchups, if they're fighting elves, why does it matter if they have +1 fight?
yeah,
Or but
yeah,
hatred all the time would be quite handy. Um,
yeah. Just give them that slight competitive edge, I think, because you still need to win the fight for the hatred to come into effect.
yeah, yeah. I mean, +1 to wound is very strong, but when your units are maybe only fight 3,
Yep.
um, you might not always get it. I don't know.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think
I
it's
think.
also just the Morannons are too expensive. They should be 7 points. The +1 fight is kind of neither here nor there. Like,
Yeah.
um,
Who are we to question the great glorious good? I don't know. I think it's probably I would agree with you, but we're not the ones who write the rules. So here we are. I think they are uh, good in theme. They are great in collectability, and they are. I think you put it well. Good gateway because you'll probably play with them and then quite quickly realize you'd like to move on to something else. But that's great. That's the natural progression of things that should happen in Middle Earth. I think Middle Earth
yeah, and
Special
they're
Casual
also
Game.
not a mistake of an army to get into because, as we
No,
say,
no,
you
no.
can use them in loads. You can use the models in other armies.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's a really good gateway in that regard, in a positive way. Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. So yeah, thank you for listening on to our ramblings. Hopefully that's been of use. We will try and get these out pretty quick comparatively. As we said previously, it's these are additional videos. These aren't replacing any videos and audio. Because if you're listening along to this on our Spotify, thank you very much. These are additional, so it's just something me and Jules thought we could do because we thought it would be interesting, and hopefully you guys think as well. Obviously, our amazing PowerPoint presentation skills will draw in the big crowds. And yeah, if there's any particular armies you really want us to chat about, let us know, and we'll rejig our. We've got a rough order we were going to go through them in, but nothing is set in stone. I think is a good way to put it. Um,
Yeah, I
and
mean, also, let us know. Do you think we're completely wrong? Is the Army of Gothmog the
yes,
best army?
is it a
Um,
sleeper hit? I don't think it is, but is it a sleeper hit?
yeah,
We are
is it a sleeper
definitely
hit?
not. We are definitely not any sort of authority other than vibes. Maybe we can give you a pretty good indication of whether an army has got good vibes, but other than that, we don't really know what we're talking about.
Yeah, I think they're a chill
Uh,
time. Um,
they are fun. I've played them twice. They're good fun. They're good if you don't have much brain power late in the evening, as you can tell.
yeah, just get up close, do some squishing.
Hmm.
But yeah, so I guess we'll round it off there. All
Hmm.
of the usual things. Follow us on Instagram or like and subscribe on YouTube, please.
Please do.
Um,
Yeah.
we've got a Discord if you want to come and yell at us about why Gothmog should be fight 7 and 5 attacks. Uh,
It's good. We've got a dedicated food channel for pictures of your food in true Hobbit fashion. It's a great place to be. So yeah, jump on the Discord. And this should be on Spotify. So thank you for listening there. If you did, there'll be many more coming along soon.
yeah, okay, that's it. It's goodbye from me
And it's goodbye from me.
and it's goodbye from Gothmog.